So recently I kind of started like an action movie binge. Today I watched Commando and Con Air, and tomorrow's video will be about Con Air. It was the first time I watched it. I'm really excited to talk about the movie, but it's probably been about 3.5 to 4 years since I've seen Commando, and I'm really excited to talk about it today because it's just such a fun movie. It's an absolute blast. Basically, if you haven't already watched any of my revisited videos, it's where I go back and I revisit a movie that I haven't seen in like 2+ years or so, and it's so weird to say, but I watched Commando today on Disney Plus. I watched sweaty, shirtless Arnold Schwarzenegger with war paint that's dropping guys off mountains and chucking like throwing stars at people, slicing their heads off, stabbing people with poles on Disney Plus, and that's all of course thanks to Star, which is amazing. I'm so glad they added that. It really, like, I loved Disney Plus before, but this just put it way up here now. It might be even the best streaming service between that and Netflix. But going back and watching this movie again, it reminded me of the first time I watched it. And the first time I watched it was when I was like really getting into like action movies and R-rated movies. It was like start of puberty, so you know, testosterone's really pumping, I'm guessing. But I was watching a ton of Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. He was like the first actor that I remember like really watching through. I haven't seen all of his films, but watching through a majority of their filmography, and I always had to ask if I could watch R-rated movies, so I'd like go downstairs with my little iPad mini over there and be like, is this okay for me to watch? They're like, Commando? No. And I'm like, why? It's just a movie, it's just an action movie. And they'd look it up on like Common Sense Media to see what the recommended age is, and then I did end up watching it. I watched it on like my iPad mini on Netflix. Again, I have a really good memory, and I really enjoyed it, but even then I remembered how just insane and stupid it was, but I still love it. I still love it to this day. It is absolutely bizarre. It makes no sense at all, but it's so awesome. Now, in these videos, I normally just talk about everything with the movie, so I won't spoil anything this time, but there are certain deaths in this movie that are just so crazy, and it has all the one-liners you want. Like, my favorite one-liner is kind of like the we'll call it the final kill, because I mean, I want to say the line, but it kind of gives it away, so I won't here. But if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The one-liners are just so crazy here, and it's like, when I promised to kill you last, I lied. It's really funny, and I do laugh while watching this movie because of how absolutely crazy it is. But I have to admit, the action is shot insanely well. The practical effects are quite amazing, especially in that whole like kind of island sequence, you know, where he puts all the war paint on and gets all stacked up, we could say. It's awesome, and I always love watching this movie. Like, I mean, I've seen it twice obviously, and it's been years, but I have so much fun. If you haven't already watched Commando, just do yourself a treat and watch it. You have to go in knowing that it is completely over the top. Like, when I think of Arnold's most over the top movie, I typically think of this one, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I actually really love this movie. As I'm saying, like, there are pretty obvious problems. The acting is not really that great. Like, it's not bad. It's just kind of like it's 80s action movie cliche acting, and sometimes like you have those kind of almost like commercial shots where they'll just be like a close-up of a character and they'll just stand there like, okay, and there's like random like pauses or like just like epic shots that's just Arnold like and it seems so weird. Like, I caught on, it's like almost that they didn't edit it fast enough, which is okay. I mean, that's just something I noticed, and maybe it was just, maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it is on purpose, or it did serve a purpose. I'm not 100% sure, but Commando is a really awesome movie. I would still probably give it a 4 out of 5, a 3.5 or 4 out of 5, but I'm gonna say 4 out of 5 overall because it's a ton of fun. If you haven't already watched it, go in knowing that it is insanely stupid. There's a reason why people call it one of the most over-the-top movies of all time, because it truly is. I have so much fun watching it, and watching it on Disney Plus is just something hilarious to say. But for Commando, what do you think of it? Tell me in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Over and out. That was stupid.